What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming at y'all. Another episode of the 2 Minute Drill. April 5th, man. I hope y'all had an amazing Easter weekend with y'all's families. But we got to get into some college football content. We got some great stuff coming up this week, man. We got to cover the Jackson State loss. Sadly, again, breaks my heart that them boys couldn't pull off a win this weekend over Southern. We got some more pro days coming up. We got some draft stuff, and we're starting a new special where I'm going to have some guests here, most likely this week, where we're going to break down some NFL team needs. What did some teams like the Ravens and other teams, what are they going to do in the first, second, third round in the NFL draft? So we got some awesome content on the way for the 2 Minute Drill, but let's get right into it, guys. Y'all remember how upset I was a few weeks ago. We had to cover their first loss of the season. Well, second straight game, Jackson State loses to Southern 34-14, man. Coach Prime and them boys just couldn't really get it going. So first I want to start on a positive note, and then we'll get to more, I think, of the critical moments later in the show. This was the first ever home game for Jackson State on the main ESPN network channel, and that's amazing to me. In fact, that Coach Prime not only got his team in the national spotlight with Jackson State, but Southern and those student athletes and those fans and those alumni got to see their program, ESPN, Saturday afternoon with the whole country watching. This came on, I believe, a little bit before the Final Four game, but that first Final Four game was atrocious, and this game, the first half at least, was a much better watch than Baylor smacking Houston. But this was only the second ever ESPN game for Jackson State. The other came in 1989. So it shows the importance of what's going on here in the SWAC and this HBCU football movement getting so much attention. You know, I beg y'all to go back and watch. I believe it's the College Football in 150 Years thing from ESPN, and they get into a lot of the history of HBCU football and what this used to be. And I think it's worth a watch for any real college football fan to understand where these programs come from. I mean, Jackson State's one of the most historic universities out there, and there's a lot of other ones. So just get up on your history in terms of HBCU football. And also, shout out to Coach Prime. Those new uniforms look spectacular. I know red isn't really, I think it's a newer thing for Jackson State. It looks amazing. The red, navy blue, and white, absolutely amazing together. I'm very, very excited that they have some new uniforms out and that they're getting kind of, I guess, a different feel almost to what they're bringing week in and week out. And also, the main thing, I feel like I say this every week, and I feel like not enough people give this credit. The energy from both teams, both sidelines, the stadium, the fans was rocking from kickoff until this game ended. Shout out to the Southern fans, man, for traveling to Jackson State, putting on, bringing that energy into the stadium. I mean, some of the shots that you were getting, the chanting, just the energy they even brought into the stadium was electric. Just almost no better environment. I really want to get down to a game down in Jackson, Mississippi, but this also marked Southern's 8th straight win over Jackson State. Their 9th in the last 10 matchups with the Tigers. And I just want to go ahead and preface this, man. It's about to get real grim if you're a Jackson State fan. Now, I'm going to end it on a positive note, but just be ready. This is about to get pretty upsetting, I would have to say. So if you're looking for, okay, this is all the positives, you're not going to get that. We're going to talk about some things that Deion Sanders and this team, this coaching staff really have to correct, or things could get extremely ugly for this program. Now, there are multiple areas this Southern team dominated. They were correlated with some of the areas we talked about 2 weeks ago after Jackson State's loss to Alabama State. They didn't correct anything. If Coach Prime and the staff does not correct this issue, it's going to be a problem. And the first one has been one that's been a problem all year long, and it's kind of manifested itself in different ways for the Tigers, special teams. Early on, it manifested itself in field goal kicks and extra points. That's kind of been solved here, but now you got blocked punts, failing to recover an onside kick in the first quarter. Just small breaks here and there that are really going to cost your team. I mean, a surprise onside kick after the first drive of the game by Southern was an amazing play call. I love the gutsiness of the call. I like the chance they took. It caught Jackson State completely off guard, and they weren't prepared, and it put them in an early hole that they really couldn't. I don't feel like they ever recovered from it. It swung the momentum so hard. So you're a home game, your first time on ESPN, you should have the momentum. Southern did a great job going and scoring on their first drive, and then further, took away any hope, any momentum that Jackson State had by hitting that onside kick. It was an amazing call, amazing execution, and Jackson State has to do better. And then a block punt in the fourth quarter put Southern at Jackson State's 2-yard line and really put the game away. It put them up 34-14 or 34-7, one of the two. I blank in there. But early in the fourth quarter, it really put the game away. It was a doable game. If Jackson State gets the ball back, they stop Southern, get the ball back, they can make it a one-score game. Now you make it where it's like, okay, we got to have a miracle to come back. It took the wind out of the sails, and after that, it really wasn't even a competitive game. And another thing, man, I'm going to shift to the defense. The rushing defense might be some of the worst rushing defense I think I've ever seen. I'm just going to be completely honest with y'all. This has become a serious issue for the Tigers in this defense, and it's cost them in the Alabama State game. It cost them in this game down the stretch. And what's going to happen when they get to some of these other competitive games that they're going to need to win if they really want to compete for a SWAC championship? This time, it was not a solo job. Urza Gray took their souls and just took their souls last game in Montgomery. And but this time it was kind of more of a by committee approach from the Jaguars. Southern had 3 different players rush for 75 or more yards, and they averaged over 5 yards a rush per carry for the overall as a team. And as a team, they rushed for 294 total yards, 3 touchdowns. And I think if you take away sacks, if I'm not mistaken, I think they ran for over 300 yards. And over the last 2 games, this Jackson State run defense has given up almost 500 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns on the ground. Listen, I don't care if you cover football like on YouTube. For me, you work for ESPN, you're just an average fan, you've watched one football game in your life. If I gave you those stats, if I just went up to some random person out in public, they don't watch football, they could tell you that's not a great thing. This defensive line, there is no penetration from this defensive line. There is no holding your ground requiring double teams on this defensive line. And the linebackers have no gap discipline, no ball pursuit skills. I mean, the linebackers and, the middle of that defensive line might be the weakest spot on this team. I think the only reason they're not getting talked about is because there's another line on the offense that has been very bad. The secondary is so strong, guys. They have ball-hawking dogs in the back end of that defense. But that's irrelevant if teams aren't forced to pass. If you can run the ball down my throat for 250, 300, then who cares if I have a ball-hawking defense that gets 2 picks in the first half or has one of the highest-rated recruits in Jackson State history back there? It don't matter. I don't care if Deion Sanders' son gets eligibility declared. It's not going to matter until they get that interior of the defensive line. And I'm pretty sure they had a transfer from Auburn come in. I don't think he's eligible. He's a 4-star defensive tackle. He played big time at Auburn. I think he'll shore up the middle of that defense. He was a very highly rated kid out of I think it was the Birmingham or Montgomery area. So look out for him. But until they get the front end, middle of that defense shored up, that amazing secondary Coach Primes put back there isn't going to matter. And in terms of time of possession, that was the other big thing. You could start. I think Deion Sanders said he circled that stat when he got back to the locker room. Jackson State lost the time of possession battle by 42 minutes to 17 minutes. I mean, he got just outplayed. They controlled the ball for, almost 3 quarters? How do you let your opponents do this for 3 quarters? And that's a recipe to get beat down by talented, good teams. You aren't competing for a SWAC championship against some of these teams that are on your schedule that you've already played if you cannot move the ball and you can't stop someone else from moving the ball. I get it. This issue is connected to 2 of the things we already talked about. One, if you can't stop the run, how are you going to stop them from moving the chains? And by letting them run the ball, you get them into 3rd and short where they can still run the ball to get the first down. The Jaguars were 14 of 20 on 3rd down conversions. Jackson State was like 1 for 8. I don't care. Okay, yeah, you got them to 3rd down a lot. They had 20 3rd down attempts, but you let them get almost all of them. Who cares if they get the 3rd down? All you need is 4 yards to carry. You were giving up 5, and some people had 8 yards to carry, 6, 7 yards to carry. I mean, you couldn't stop a damn thing. If you move the chain, if you allow them to move the chains consistently, it lets them keep Jalen Jones, who's your best player on offense, on the sidelines, and it keeps your offense from ever establishing a rhythm because they're not on the field. You got 17 minutes to do work, and you expected them to keep up with this Southern team who was playing out of their minds this weekend. And, I mentioned the gutsy decision by Southern to kick the onside kick in the first quarter. It gave the ball right back, kept Jalen Jones on the sideline, and allowed Southern to control the ball for over 12 minutes of the first quarter. Limited Jackson State to 2 possessions in which they went 3 and out. It was a perfect game plan by Southern to control the clock, control the line of scrimmages, and keep Jackson State's offense on the sidelines and inconsistent and off their rhythm. It was an amazing job. It was executed to perfection for Southern. And then on the other side of the ball, we got to get to this. And this is the last thing I'll talk about in terms of negativity. The offensive inconsistency is shocking for Jackson State. From what they did in the first few weeks of the season all the way until now, it is shocking how just inconsistent and they can't even move the ball because they can't move the ball for anything against decent defenses. It's the lack of the run game, the lack of execution from the offensive line, the lack of any options outside of Jalen Jones. This dude, listen, I need to know what he can squat because he has the entire weight of this entire offense on him. And you look at the offensive line. I talked about it last week. It is atrocious. The execution, the communication. I mean, there's no aggressiveness. There's no. I can't even put it into words. Just like the lack of effort, it seems like sometimes. And what I mean by lack of effort, I'm not saying the kids aren't trying. I don't ever like to put players down, but man, you can't stand around and watch the ball. Just because the dude went the other way or the dude is, a few yards downfield, keep up with your blocks or go find someone else to block. I mean, listen, I'm not a D1 athlete. I didn't play college football, but man, my high school coach would have benched me if I would have done some of the things I saw people do. What are you doing? They allow 4 sacks. I get it. They play Jordan Lewis, who's the FCS leader in sacks with 26. He got 2 of them. But they only paved the way for 2.6 yards per carry, and the longest run was 21 yards. I don't get it. I mean, they're consistently getting dominated. I don't care if it's pass blocking. I don't care if it's run blocking. They don't look like they can do a damn thing in terms of blocking for anybody. And, Coach Prime, he's been recruiting well. If he doesn't get some offensive linemen, I don't care how good his defense is. I don't care how good his quarterback is, running back, anything. You're going to have an offensive line if you think you're going to win a SWAC championship or even, his goals and aspirations is to compete with the best of the Power 5. That ain't happening with this offensive line. You know what would happen? I mean, well, let's not go to even the extreme with Bama or Clemson. Do you know what would happen if you played Cincinnati? Or, I mean, Tulsa, New Mexico, Arizona? I mean, you can just go to any program. You were getting smacked. Go to Kansas. Coastal Carolina. I mean, this is terrible, man. The offensive line for me is the biggest problem with Jackson State right now, and until they get it fixed, I don't know what they're gonna do against good teams that can get pressure and stop the run. Because once you stop the run, Jalen Jones is going to have to carry everything on his back, and right now, it's not a recipe for success. And Jalen Jones' production is really suffering due to this offensive line issue and lack of run game. He is consistently running for his life every play. It is try, run, third down. Jalen Jones is scrambling for his life, looking for something. It is almost the same recipe that Auburn had, where they run it up the middle twice or throw a screen, and then it's Bo Nix running for his life on third down. That's what we've come to in terms of Jackson State's offense. And Jalen Jones played excellent this weekend. He had almost 250 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 pick, 40 yards rushing. But, I mean, he rushed for a lot more than that, but got sacked and it took away. I just want to say that deep pass to Dalen Baldwin was absolutely beautiful, and it shows his accuracy, his potential, his arm strength. If he has time in the pocket, if he has a clean pocket. His accuracy is only down these past few games because he has to be throwing on the run. He has to do cross-body throws. He has to force it into windows that aren't there, and he has countless throwaways due to poor protection. Jalen Jones's, or I guess you could call it regression these past few weeks, is due to the offensive line play. They've been exposed, and until they figure out a way to block somebody, this Jackson State offense is going to suffer, and it's going to be on that defense to step up and keep it a low-scoring game until Jackson State can figure something out. And that's what I want to say. I mean, I know I'm over time, but I had a lot of opinions about this game. I know there were a lot of negatives there, but it shouldn't be all doom and gloom down in Jackson, Mississippi. Coach Prime has done an excellent job on the recruiting trail, as we saw. But let's keep in mind, this is still his first year. He has not even had a chance to put really a full class together from start to finish. It's still year one. That's not time to put unrealistic expectations on a coach, especially one who is coaching his first college-level job. He coached in high school, but this is his first college-level head coaching job. He has the staff right. He's in the process of recruiting better players, and he's figuring out a way to manage games and players at this level. He's figuring it out. And it's probably my fault. It's probably some of the other analysts who cover Jackson State that put probably some unrealistic expectations. I thought they were going to run to the SWAC championship. I ain't going to lie to y'all. I came on here, I was like, this team is amazing. They're in the national champions. They should be ranked. So, this high. I was wrong. I jumped the gun a little bit. I think they played some lower competition that really got everyone excited, but we need to pump the brakes. This year one, they're competing. They have some holes. Once those holes are filled, we're going to see a competitive team. And, the attention that Jackson State just itself, even when they're, maybe not in SWAC championship, I guess, form, the attention they're bringing to the SWAC, to HBCU football is absolutely amazing. ESPN this weekend, if you listen to the broadcast, was filled with awesome history, facts, culture about HBCU football, HBCU schools. And I really hope people were listening and processing this information. You look at the new stadiums that are going to be looked at, new recruits that are exposed to HBCU schools, more money, debate raging on about name, image, and likeness. I mean, there's so much more coming soon. Not just for D1 Power 5 football, but even SWAC football and, FCS football. I think Jackson State is going to be a contender for a SWAC title soon. They're going to have to make a lot of improvements to become an odds-on favorite. You look at Southern, you look at Alabama State, you look at Alcorn State, who's not even playing this spring. You also got Grambling State right there. They probably are more complete teams than Jackson State right now. Parity in this conference is at an all-time high for me. Fall should be even more competitive. And so as we wrap this up here, as we hit the 20-minute mark, sorry, guys, but this leads me to my final announcement. The Bluebloods, myself, have put a lot of thought into this, and We offer all kind of Power 5 D1 content in the fall during the regular season. We are going to also be releasing, on days we don't have a normal episode, HBCU football content, SWAC episodes this fall, along with the D1 content we release. We're gonna branch out here and offer ourselves up as a hub for SWAC football, for HBCU football, because I feel like not enough people on YouTube, on national TV, on local radio offer enough time, energy, research to really give these teams the coverages they deserve. And so I really want to step up myself and offer a little bit of content for y'all out here who really care about this. I feel like a lot of people do, and I really hate that. There's a few people. Cut Day Sports, I believe, awesome channel. Go follow him. RJ Young from Fox Sports covers a little bit of Jackson State football. Love that. So those are two channels to follow along with our own as we get into SWAC football, as we go into the future, which looks so bright for this conference and just looks bright for all these universities. But guys, that is a wrap here. Make sure to subscribe right here to the Blue Bloods if you enjoyed this episode. Give it a thumbs up, man. It helps us get this content out here to more and more people, help grow this Blue Bloods family, man. And I really appreciate y'all listening. Y'all make this so worth it for me. And, we're putting out 5 episodes a week, Monday through Friday, the 2-minute drill, along with our normal content for the Blue Bloods, where today we have Wyatt Thompson, K-State play-by-play guy, man, 4 times Kansas Sportscaster of the Year. We break down K-State football, baby. I'm a student here right now, so it meant a lot for him to come on there and talk some football with me. It was a great interview. Check that out up there. I believe it's in the little cards thing. Just hit the little eye at the top and it should pop up. But guys, for the 2-minute drill and the Blue Bloods and myself, we are out.